What if I told you that one wrong word, one stray opinion could turn your dream vacation into a diplomatic disaster? That's right, guys. Today, we're going to talk about politics and travel. This isn't going to be one of your normal travel videos about how bright and beautiful it is to travel and whatnot. This is going to be talking about some of the stuff that you probably should not be doing while you're traveling. We're going to talk about politics and travel and that they don't always mix. But here's the twist. Sometimes they should mix, but they don't always. Whether you're sipping coffee in Paris, hiking through Colombia, or bartering in the streets of Morocco, you'll inevitably bump into culture, identity, and yes, politics. This happens because we are political people. That's how we are. We ascribe to a certain political belief, and it's almost like a gang mentality. It's something that clicks in our brain where we want to defend that and talk about that and try to convince others that our way is the right way. That's how our brain works. But should you avoid those conversations entirely, or is it okay to sometimes talk about them? Is staying silent always the safest route, or does it cut you off from the very soul of the place that you're in? Because most countries, they've got a very big political presence. People are politically motivated to do certain things. That's just how they are. That's how the people are. That's how we are. Today, we're going to dive deep into the pros and the cons of avoiding political conversations while traveling. We're going to talk about things from safety to soul searching, from awkward silences to life-changing perspectives. This is going to be a pretty deep video. So if you don't want to listen, I understand. You can cut it off now and don't worry about it. But maybe you should stay on, learn a little bit at least, because this topic is important. And it's something you will have to deal with if you're traveling. There's no doubt about it. You will have to deal with this when you're traveling. I suggest kind of stick around, because by the end of this video, you might rethink everything about how you talk on the road. And let us know in the comments, have you ever had a political conversation while traveling that kind of went sideways, or maybe it went surprisingly well? Let us know in the comments. Tell us how it went. I can talk about politics with my fiance's family, especially her uncles. We love talking about politics. We tend to be aligned pretty closely in what we think on politics. I tend to be a little more libertarian than them, but they still have some beliefs that I have. But before I get into the video, guys, if you like this video and all the other videos I do, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. You liking and subscribing is the best way to support what I do. It helps me to continue to make videos like this for you guys every Monday through Friday. Let's push for 1K followers. All right. So imagine this. You're sitting in a hostel in Athens, one of the most beautiful historical places ever, by the way. There's a Brit, a Brazilian, a Filipino, and an American. Someone cracks a joke about the US election, and suddenly they all look at you. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? How do you respond to something like that? These kinds of things happen. So naturally, for the most part, especially if you're like me, you just kind of laugh awkwardly and you think, do I answer honestly, or do I take a power outage and disappear? This happens. It's a common situation, and how you respond might change the whole night. It might change everything, for the good or the bad. I've avoided conversations before about politics, especially my fiance has a fairly liberal friend, and living beside my fiance's parents is a lady who's married to a man from Austria. They tend to be a lot more liberal than me. They definitely don't like Trump. They made that very clear. They do not like Trump. I'm not saying I like Trump. I'm not saying I don't like Trump, but I differ greatly on my views than they do with politics. I'm so different in how I see things. I see things more on the side of liberty, but also having a little bit of tradition still. They don't. In situations like that, I've kept my mouth shut because there's a lot that I want to say. And believe me, I can say a lot. If you check out my X account, Twitter account, whatever you want to call it, I can say a lot when it comes to politics. But in situations like that, I keep my mouth shut because I don't want to start a fight. I don't want to start any animosity with anybody. And I'm in another country and it's not worth it. It's not worth it at that point. I did let the neighbors know that some of the things they had heard about Trump were not true. But that's it. It did shut up the conversation real quick. However, there are times that I've talked to my fiance's family, especially, who I have a clear alignment with when it comes to politics. This idea of freedom, this idea of a strong leader. We differ a little bit on how much freedom. They're a little more restrictive than I am. I'm very libertarian on gun ownership, drug use, all that. I'm very libertarian. They are not. But it's okay. I can talk to them about it because we don't ever fight. We just drink and have fun and talk about politics. And most of the time we talk about how much we hate politicians. So you know, it's okay. It's okay. That happens. I've learned where and when I can talk about politics. So let's talk about some of the pros of not talking about politics. First and foremost, there's obviously the safety. You have to be honest. Some countries don't play around when it comes to politics. In places with like strict governments or fragile tensions, the wrong comment can land you in a lot of trouble. You gotta know where the red lines are. In Thailand, don't criticize the monarchy. In China, don't bring up Tiananmen Square or how terrible communism is. In Russia, just be chill. Don't even bother talking about politics in Russia. You have to know where you're at and how that can affect the way you say things. I'm lucky that my fiance's family is really cool, because if they weren't, then we'd probably be arguing all the time if somebody brought up politics, especially when we disagree. I'm very lucky that they're not like that. But sometimes avoiding politics can keep you safe. It's not about being a coward, it's about being wise. Because some of these countries, they just don't play around. You cannot do that in some of these countries. Another good reason to not bring up politics in conversations abroad is that it gives you a peace of mind. When you're traveling, you're often exhausted. You have jet lag. You've had to deal with airports and restaurants and hotel management and Airbnb management, blah, 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 blah. All this other stuff you've had to deal with. You're exhausted. You're not in your comfort zone. You're not in that place where you can feel comfortable and safe about talking about whatever. And you have to rely on strangers for directions, for food, or for help. You don't want to say the wrong thing to strangers who you have to rely on, because then what if you piss one of them off? What's going to happen then? It's going to cause a lot of trouble. You don't want to do that, obviously. It's important to know that getting into heated arguments over hot button issues is not the best idea, especially in places that you've not been to before. That peace of mind that you need while you're traveling is not going to be there. And you don't know if you can trust someone with whatever directions they give you if you've pissed them off because you've decided to talk about politics instead of talking about, I don't know, the weather or something. You just don't know. Sometimes not engaging is the key to preserving your peace. You just don't talk about it. Like, have you ever had to just nod and smile while someone went on a rant in another language? Sometimes disengaging is strategic Zen. Sometimes that's all you can do, as you don't want to start any problems that will mess up everything. The third pro of not talking about politics is you're letting the culture speak for itself. Sometimes politics is just better discovered than to be discussed. It's better to see how the culture is, or to see the way people do things and how they do it, and try to learn why they do it without bringing up your politics. Sometimes that's the best way. That's one of the best things about traveling, actually, is that you get to understand these cultures. You get to see this difference that you're not used to. I would say this would be my biggest reason for saying keep politics out of discussions, is so you can learn what they believe and why they believe it without trying to start an argument that will ruin everything. Then you'll never learn, because you've pissed somebody off. You've made them angry. They're not going to want to talk to you. So instead, just watch, learn, ask questions. Sometimes that's best. Watch how a country treats its elders. See how protest art covers the walls in South America. Listen to music. Listen to the stories. Listen to the silence. Observe all of that. You don't need to bring up the prime minister to understand the pulse of a place. You don't need to bring up your president. You don't need to bring up your political identity. You don't need to bring up what they're doing right or wrong in your opinion. Just listen. If you listen, you will learn more. When you learn more, you understand better. When you understand better, you become more empathetic. And that's what you want to be. You want to be empathetic and have empathy for others. That's what us travelers do. All right, guys. Now that we know the pros, let's look at the cons as well, because there are some bad things about not talking about politics. Possibly the number one is that we miss these connections. We miss connections with people. On this side, some of my deepest conversations I've had with people while traveling have been about politics, especially here in the Philippines. We talk about the current president that they have. We talk about the last president they had. One of my exes I used to talk to when we were together, we had a lot of deep conversations about the politics that were going on and who she was going to vote for in their last presidential election and how her family felt about that person. And it just wasn't good, but it was a deep conversation. And I defended her choice. Whether I agreed with it or not, I defended it. Defended her choice to choose that person despite her family constantly posting bad stuff about people who would vote for that person. It broke my heart. I got to talk to her about how hurt she was. Sometimes some of the deepest conversations do come from politics. So avoiding politics altogether, that kind of means you have to miss some of the raw, real heartbeat of humanity. You miss that beauty, miss that connection that you could have with someone if you talked about politics. There's also the con that it reinforces ignorance. If we always avoid political talk, we risk staying comfortable in our own biases. Because we all have biases. Every single one of us. Every one of us has a bias. I won't lie, I'm biased toward more libertarian beliefs. I'm not a complete libertarian, but most of my beliefs that I find important are more on the libertarian side. That's just how I am. That's my bias. There are people who are hardcore right, hardcore left, hardcore conservative, hardcore progressive, Republican, Democrat, whatever party it is. You have a bias toward that party. You're not going to always listen to reason. You're not going to listen to the facts. You're going to set straight in your own way. And you're going to think this is the only way. My side is right every single time on every single issue. I see it so often. I've done it. I used to be on both sides of the political spectrum, and I just got tired of it. So I say I'm more libertarian now, but I got beliefs all over the spectrum. And I will call out BS when I see it, and I will call out good when I see it. I called out the BS that I felt Trump was doing with Iran. But I called out the good he was doing when it came to the FDA and taking care of this food industry that's gone out of control and lowering pharmaceutical. Joe Biden, I called out all the BS he was doing with. It was just so obvious how sick he was, and everybody on the left was just denying it. Every single person was just denying it. And that's how you know that was a cult almost, because they were denying it when everybody else could see it. They said all those people were wrong, but when it came out Joe Biden was sick, they still tried to find a way to justify how all those people were wrong and that they were right, and that somehow they just didn't see it. Those people were telling you the whole time. It's the one that is brainwashed. But then I also praised Joe Biden on also lowering the prices of things on drugs. I don't mind doing that. And that's what I wish more people would do, because we have these biases. And when you don't talk to other people about your political beliefs, you reinforce those biases. You make it worse. You stick to only what you believe. This, of course, is assuming that you will listen to the other person. You won't just block them out. Because, travel isn't just about beaches and food. It's about growth. And sometimes growth comes with discomfort. All growth can come with discomfort. You might discover what you believed wasn't the whole picture. You may even change your mind. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with changing your mind. That's a good thing. That means you're learning and you're developing your own ideas and identity. You're not subject to one singular type of belief. You are your own person. And when you learn new stuff, it's okay to change your mind, or it's okay to somehow incorporate that into what you already believe. There's nothing wrong with that. Have you ever changed your view on something after visiting another country? I'm sure some of us have. I have. I've changed my view many times on many things here in the Philippines. I've changed my view on how bad it could be for people who don't have money, because it's so different here. I've changed my view. When I was in Germany, I changed my view on what I thought Western worlds were, because I thought they were all basically the same. They're definitely not. Germany is a lot different than USA. So it's okay to change your views with new evidence. There's nothing wrong with that. And then finally, guys, another con of not being able to talk about politics is that it makes travel a little bit superficial. If we avoid all these deeper conversations, we risk becoming surface level travelers. You don't want to be a surface level traveler. You just don't. It's so boring. Yeah, you can say it's fun. You can say it's fun to go and check out all these new sites that you've never seen. And yeah, that can be fun. You don't really learn anything. You don't grow. You don't develop. That's why a lot of my videos aren't just me going out and traveling. It's me trying to give advice to you guys so you know the best ways to travel, or you know how to deal with mental health issues, or if you're Catholic, you know how to defend your Catholic faith when you're in different countries, or this and that. I don't just do videos about visiting all these nice places, because there's more to life than that. And in fact, that isn't what life should be about. Life should be about growing, and changing, and developing, becoming a person who can be a light to the world. That's what you should be focused on. That's what you should be thinking about. You shouldn't be thinking about doing all this other stuff all the time. You need to have deeper level conversations. You need to be a deeper level traveler, not just a surface level. We collect all these passport stamps and we take all these selfies. We don't have the stories. We don't have the struggles. We don't have any of that, because we don't want it. We try to reject it. We try to get rid of it because it brings too much discomfort to us. We gotta have a little bit of discomfort. We have to. That's how we grow. That's what growing is sometimes. It's being in a state of discomfort, but it just means that you're changing for the better. There's nothing wrong with being like that. Isn't this why we travel? To understand? I hope you guys are not just traveling just because you want to go see things. I hope the people I'm talking to right now, the people who find my videos interesting, I hope the reason you want to travel is because you want to understand other nations, other cultures, other ideas, other people. Because if not, you're not going to like my videos. If you think that my videos are just going to be about seeing things, seeing sights, you're just dead wrong. I love to see sights, but what's more important to me is understanding society, understanding culture, understanding people. That is what's more important to me, not seeing the sights. Just so you know, you're probably not going to like my videos if that's all you care about. So what's kind of the lesson here though? I would say the biggest thing to take from this is to know the context. Know the context of where you're going. Know how the place thinks. Do a little bit of research, because different countries do have different rules. So it's okay, even if you got to ask ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT usually gives good answers. Ask them what their rules are on talking about politics, and not just the rules and the laws, but you might want to do a little bit of research to make sure, because just because it's just on paper doesn't mean that it's what really happens. You want to make sure that it's safe if you want to talk about politics. So do your own research. Some cultures love debates. America, USA, you guys know how it is. I don't want to say we love debates, but yeah, we love debates. We love debates, but we love to hate each other when we debate, which I do not like actually. But then there's other countries that kind of value the harmony over the honesty. They just want the peace. They want things to be like the yin and the yang. They don't want any imbalances. Just let it be and go with the flow. And just know the difference. Ask yourself, is this a barbershop in Vietnam or a dinner table in New York? Because context is everything. You don't want to say the wrong thing in the wrong country. It's also important to read the room, not just the map. The key is emotional intelligence. You have to have some kind of emotional intelligence, not just over politics, but over traveling in general. You have to have a little bit of that emotional intelligence. You got to be able to understand how people are responding to the things that you are saying. That is so important, because if you say the wrong thing, you want to be able to back off, not to keep hitting hard on it. Don't want to do that. If you're saying the right thing, you may want to double down on it. Talk more about it. Go deeper. But you've got to have some emotional intelligence to be able to read the room about that. You can talk about politics if you've built trust with someone, like how I do with my fiance's family. I've built a lot of trust with them. We love hanging out. Us men love talking about politics. We love having some Red Horse or some Tanduay and sitting back, having a nice cold one, talking about politics, laughing and having a good time, making fun of politics. That's usually what we do. We make fun of them. It's okay to talk about politics if they bring it up first, if you're careful on how you talk about it. Just remember, you don't want to push the buttons on that one, especially if it's in one of the countries where politics seem to be a dangerous thing to talk about. Actually, if it's a dangerous thing to talk about, I wouldn't even talk about it at all, even if they bring it up. But I would say one of the most important things to do is if you want to talk about politics, just ask questions. Don't preach to them. Just ask them questions. Try to get to understand them and to know what they think and why they think it. Don't try to preach to them what you believe. You know what you believe. Don't preach it to them. Don't do that, because then it's just going to ruin the conversation. You might be in a place where you don't want to preach it, but maybe you do want to ask them, hey, bro, so tell me about yourself, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how you would. I don't know why anybody would even bring up politics to a random person. Actually, that would be weird. That'd be absolutely weird. Just walk up to somebody and be like, "Hey, what do you think about your government?" Like, who the fuck are you? Why are you asking, weirdo? That's how I would think. I wouldn't even bring it up to someone that I first met. But if you do, maybe try asking what's your take on how things are changing here, or what do you wish travelers better understood about your country? Ask them something like that. Especially that second one. That second one might be good because I'm sure a lot of them think that foreigners have a misunderstanding of their government. Have genuine curiosity, because that will open up doors. Also, guys, don't be a representative. One of the worst things you can do is to try to speak for your whole country. You're not your whole country. I could never speak for my whole country. My political ideas are so all over the place that I know for sure my whole country wouldn't think the same way as me in America. You don't have to defend every policy. You don't have to defend your leader. You're not an ambassador. You are a guest. You can say something like, yeah, things are complicated back at home, or it's hard to explain in one sentence. You can say something like that. There's nothing wrong with you saying that. Own your truth, but don't carry the burden of your whole nation. I will not do that. And I don't mind telling people if I think a government's done something wrong. But if they tell me my government's done something wrong and they want to talk about politics, but I don't think the government's done something wrong, I will tell them that I don't think what they did was wrong. If there's a misunderstanding, I always correct them on misunderstandings. But it just depends on the situation. Most of the time, I don't really like talking about politics back at home. It's just not something I'm interested in unless it's on like Twitter or on Facebook or something, because I don't think most people here understand the politics in the USA, because most of them haven't been to the USA and they're more focused on themselves. And I'm okay with that. I'm not bothered by that. I'm not one of those people that thinks the USA should be in every other nation's business. The USA should take care of USA. Every country take care of their own, and it's okay. You don't have to worry about what every other country's doing. Just focus on yourself. My libertarianism coming out. I believe people have the freedom to do whatever they want so long as they're not harming anybody else. The government's there to make sure the country's safe and their rights are upheld. Another thing to do, guys, that's very important is to know when to walk away. Sometimes someone is just pushing a toxic narrative or trying to bait you. Know this: you are not obligated to engage with that person. You don't have to engage with them. And sometimes that's best, especially if they're trying to push your buttons. It's hard to push my buttons. I just make a joke out of things. I laugh about it. Now, to keep on, I just don't talk. I wait for somebody else to bring up a conversation. Although I will say that hasn't happened to me. Not here in the Philippines. People don't care. At least with politics, it hasn't. With other things it may have had, and I just made a joke out of it. We went on with our day. Went on drinking and having a good time. But know that you don't have to talk about the things. You can just cut the conversation short and stop talking about it. There's nothing wrong with that. You can smile. You can change the subject. Or if they keep on insisting on trying to push your buttons, just excuse yourself and go away. Disengagement doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise because you don't have to argue and fight about everything, especially when it comes to your peace. Peace of mind is so much more important than all of that. And I've learned this over the years. I'm still a hothead sometimes, but I've learned that my peace is more important than just trying to fight everybody who wants to fight about things. Oddly enough, I learned that from Andrew Tate, of all people. I learned that from him and the professors in the real world about how important peace of mind is. So just know when to walk away. Also know when to turn conflict into curiosity. If the topic does come up, treat it like travel with open eyes and an open heart and open ears. Instead of arguing, try exploring what they believe so you can understand them better. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're travelers. We shouldn't just be going places just because we want to sightsee. We want to go places because we want to learn about people. We want to learn about why people do what they do, why they think the way they think. That's why we travel. We want to understand people. So, say something like, that's really interesting. We see it differently where I'm from, but I would love to hear more about why people here feel that way. Talk like that. Ask them why they believe like that and have a conversation about it. That's how diplomacy starts, and not embassies. Diplomacy starts in the cafes, it starts in the restaurants, it starts in hiking trails, it starts in the tricycles. Be more diplomatic to understand others. Should you avoid politics while traveling? Here's the bottom line, guys. Avoiding political conversations can protect you, but remember, engaging in them in a wise, and a smart, and a humble way can transform you. Can change who you are, can change how you see the world around you. And that's the beauty of talking about politics if you go about it the right way. Obviously, there's no one size fits all to this question. Some countries, it's just best not to even go on about it. Like I said, China, don't even mention the Communist Party. Definitely don't mention it in North Korea, and don't mention it in Russia. In other countries, some other countries, it's okay. If they bring it up or you know them well enough and it's safe, it's okay. It's okay in other countries if you try to understand why they think the way they do, like what makes them feel this way. That's okay. But there's no one size fits all. You just have to know about the political situation in the country that you're in. That's the most important thing. You don't want to go about this in a way that puts your life in danger because you want to talk about politics in a country where it's not a good idea to talk about politics. So be safe, but remember, it can also connect you to others. It can enlighten you, and it can heal you. It can make you grow if you do it the right way. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever had like a political conversation while traveling that changed how you see the world? I can say that I have, especially here in the Philippines. I've talked a lot about politics, and it's not changed my political views, but it's changed how I see the country, how I understand the country. I know now that actually the Philippines is a little bit more conservative than I thought it was, but it is going more liberal. It's making its way toward that. There's a big fraction going on right now. It's a little bit like the U.S. How the 2022 election reminded me a lot of the 2016 election in the USA. So it is going toward that. I've learned a little bit from that. Or maybe, have you ever regretted getting into one? Or maybe you avoid talking about them entirely. Let us know in the comments. I love reading these stories. I love politics. I will comment back if you comment about politics. I promise. I will say something. I love talking about politics. It's one of my favorite topics. Politics and religion, the two topics you should never talk about, are the two topics I talk about the most. Let us know in the comments. I'll answer you back. I promise. And guys, if you found this video helpful, hit that like button so more travelers can join in on the conversation. Subscribe for more videos like this. Videos that are more than just me going out and looking at all the beautiful sights. Videos where I can talk real with you guys and tell you guys exactly how things are, not just as a traveler, but as a human being. I do these videos every single day, Monday through Friday. And remember, don't just visit the world, understand it. That's what we do as travelers, even if it means having the uncomfortable conversations. These are the conversations that are so meaningful in our life. Stay curious, guys. Stay kind and travel deep, and always try to be the best person you can be. Know that y'all are valuable and that you matter. God bless. Peace.